Creator Gang Productions present The Lost Books of King Og. Chapter 1. King Og lets his hatred of Nimrod be known. These are the last and only words spoken by Og and the Raphaim as told to Onzal, the slayer of the smaller selves before Baal. Baal of the earth that keeps our gardens fertile. Baal of the earth that guided Og's complete-loined wrath from when the old world monsters stood until after the time of the great waters. Baal who will reverse the unspoken mistake, that embarrassing deed that cannot be named or fixed till Baal intervenes. This stupid unspoken mistake stains us all to the inner loins. The mistake in the fields that the false Raphaim priests of Baal led us to, perverting us all. I, Og, and the true Raphaim priests of Baal tore the jelly out of their eyes, and I ripped their heads off the shoulders. Yes, of the false Raphaim priests of complete loin. We spilled their worm-filled entrails out on the field. With bare hands, we twisted and tore them free. Nimrod also participated, sacrificing his Nephilim priests of incomplete loin, and piled their plucked circumcised sexual organs atop each other, and burned the useless meat with fire, a disgrace to them. Baal of the earth was pleased. The blackened blood of both Raphaim and Nephilim deceiver ran thick over the grass. We cut the bodies into pieces and laid them on the wood and poured 4 barrels of oil on the flesh. Then the fire of Baal of the sun fell and consumed the sacrifice of false priests, the dark smoke of cursed Raphaim. Flesh smolders, a sacrifice burned to Baal of the earth and to the promise of fertility. We encouraged the vermin-like smaller selves of both kingdoms, both complete and incomplete, loined present at the sacrifice to feast upon the corrupted flesh of the Raphaim bodies. A new, unnatural curse now rests on my skull and spirit until the end of the stars. During the time of the sacrifice of the loose bowel fecal priests, I, Og, governed my half of the great land, and Nimrod his. I, Og, continually marveled over the tranquil peace between our warrior tribes. Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom enforced circumcision, while Og's did not. In that season, the kingdom of Og formed a pact of brotherhood with all remaining Rephaim tribes and lands. This pact introduced the vermin-like smaller selves, modern humans, to Baal worship. In the pact I called the mighty hunter Nimrod, blood of my own lineage. Now with the death of all the remaining Rephaim upon Nimrod's dry fecal hands, I no longer honor the cowardly half-loined Nephilim hunter called Nimrod. Only a half-loined Nephilim coward murders a child. For this offense and more I regularly urinated upon his dead bones and corpse until the meat and skin peeled away. Till the end of my days, I will take the daily fecal journey to choke his Nephilim corpse. Of all of the warlike hatred of which volcanoes are formed, I hold the most for the disrespected skeletal remains of the Nephilim hunter, Nimrod, who led his kingdom in the member-carving practice of circumcision. I will tell tales of how the Nephilim Nimrod offended all Raphaim, how in his stupidity he defied Baal, thus causing Baal of the earth to guide my unforgiving hands after war. To his death? Will this and other stories not be? Told to Anak, for the very chapters of this book. One day I, Og, will finish my last meal and push my crumbed plate away and lay down to die. My hatred will cease, but the half-loined name of Nimrod will forever mean stupid. Nimrod's fame shall mean the Nephilim's shame, mangled of mind and the mangled of loin. He alone carries all of the disgrace of the Rephaim. All who circumcise their members claim allegiance to Nimrod. Nimrod is the circumcised Nephilim who killed us all. Oh, that I could shatter the teeth in Nimrod's mouth again, and break the teeth of his half-loined Nephilim sons Jotun had the satisfaction of killing. Nimrod's sons, whose names will not be mentioned to blot them from the earth. First, before I can tell the story, it should be told how shrewd Nimrod the hunter was. What a good steward of his land he was. How much so I, Og, envied Nimrod as a warrior. How much so I, Og, envied Nimrod as a ruler. How much so I, Og, envied Nimrod as he forced the smaller selves build the throne room of Balaal. I, Og, did not envy the circumcision, or any of the lessening of the member that Nimrod chose for his Nephilim kingdom. Nimrod's land used the smaller selves for food in secret. He traded them to the kingdom of Og for labor in the open. Nimrod also forced the male Nephilim and the male smaller selves of his kingdom to carve their loins with the knife of circumcision. Consumption of smaller selves in secret is the true mystery that Nimrod knew in Babylon governance. Nimrod, the dung smeared of mind and loin, raised the smaller selves as secret food might. Nimrod the Nephilim with an incomplete member who deceived and concealed his consumption of the adult male smaller selves. At the end of the great battles with the large-scaled beasts of old, food in the kingdom of Og was scarce. The Rephaim brothers of animal husbandry, the great beast farmers and tamers, Gog and Magog, had both turned red there. Gray eyes toward the magnificent Leviathan and other beast of the sea for meat, the beasts of old. We fed upon the forgotten gods of latter times. During that season sparse of food, Og, found a large colony of smaller selves in my kingdom. A colony of smaller selves riddled with Rephaim evils, such as murder and rape, as they enslaved and harmed each other. The powerful kingdom of Og was not deceptive or crafty with the smaller selves as Nimrod was. Smaller self-adult males were struck down and eaten in the open. We chose not to hide our hunger from the smaller selves. I did not require the loin-carving circumcision that Nimrod required in his land. The Rephaim priests of Baal decreed all lands were not to feast upon the smaller self-females. Smaller self-females became pure priestesses, wives and concubines of Baal, not to be known by any member. We taught the smaller selves not to kill or pain or rape. We taught the procreative value of the smaller self-females. Nimrod and Og both taught the smaller selves Baal's truths during all times of peace and war. The Rephaim priests of Baal decreed the sacrifice of the tiny, worthless, smaller self-children to undo the unspoken mistake. Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom and that Rephaim land of Og sacrificed all smaller self-children with effectual, fervent rituals, being of one mind and spirit, bleeding for Baal to undo the unspoken mistake. The Rephaim must consider now themselves. The Rephaim must consider a return to the excreta of beginning. Every day brings the extinction of the Raphaim species closer. Consider Baal when you have given birth to a child at 500 years. Consider Baal again as each new star passes. It is Baal who will again reproduce the Rephaim race. It is Baal that we cry out to and ask for extension. The smaller selves will birth the next Rephaim. Baal has spoken through the priestess. In the death of the moonchild, our bracelet for Baal, smaller self-infants are scorched in the fire and scream to Baal nightly. There has been so much loss of life for him. Baal will extend us and make us fertile again. Og speaks of supplication to Baal of the earth. Baal of the earth has land with greenery and healthy vegetation, fruits and nuts. Baal of the earth also saw to Og's success in the 100,000 giant war. Baal gave us mountains to climb when the waters covered the earth. Baal guided my hands as I drew Nimrod's yellowing entrails from his quaking, misshapen-loined Nephilim body. Scream to Baal of the earth, all Rephaim rejoice and scream, and beg for the undoing of the unspoken mistake. Declare Baal's power in all aspects. Again, I say scream and rejoice, be it war or contention. It is Baal that keeps our fields fertile, who keeps the peoples of the land. Remind Baal of the earth of fertility in your lands. Remind Baal of the extension. Ascribe to Baal, all of you, Rephaim. Ascribe to Baal the land's fertility and your physical strength. Take your child offerings and come before Baal. Scream and bleed in the name of Baal. The fertility awarded to us for our worship. The fertility that will prolong the Rephaim. The smaller self-prophetess has prophesied the following that applies to the land. I am Baal, your god, who delivered you from Nimrod in the 100,000 giant war. I am Baal of the earth, who will provide the extension to the Rephaim. Because of this, you will bleed yourself before no other gods. I do not honor the circumcision. It is good for the Rephaim not to know the smaller selves. You will not cut your members for any of the other insect-sized gods that demand it. May the destruction of my enemies buried in fecal matter be their punishment until the end of time. Worship me, and I, Baal, will extend your species, full of power, and give you life. Consider this. A time is coming when you will all worship Baal Haman. He is coming in storm. Every eye will see him, even those that practice circumcision. Let the enemies tremble, and let the earth shake. The great Baal of the Rephaim stands above the insect-sized gods. Filth is the land of his heritage. All will ascribe penance and worship. Blood sacrifices, fertility I will empower. Do not tire. Baal's power is sufficient, as you see the lush country. As your crops grow, serve Baal. As Kor the able and Farshen the palsied served as temple stewards, speaking through the smoke from the darkened sacrificial fire. The worship must frenzy and gash with knives and lances. Baal delivers the promised extension of Rephaim. Proclaim the power of Baal on the fertile mountain. Continue, and I will extend you. The Lost Book of King Ogi, Chapter 2. The Moonchild. It is through gnashing teeth that I give you full vent of my bitterness. My soul is downcast and disturbed. My history has become a fire, corrupting my whole life unto the extinction of the Rephaim. I tell this terrible history to Anak, the keeper of the bodies before Baal, for its transcription. My wrath tends to evil words. Anger, wrath, malice, and obscene talk all fall from my lips as I speak. I still hold the Mot-worshipping Nimrod, responsible for the death of the Moonchild and the full portion of my hatred. Nimrod, that brutish, circumcised hater of reproof, the one who has planted and watered the gnarled, living thicket that is my loathing. I tell no lie, I loved not my brother, whom I have seen, yet loved Baal of the earth, whom I have not seen. Although Nimrod, my brother, no longer walks the land, my swelling wrath still grows for him in the darkness. The tale of Nimrod and his quest to carve the members of the giants of his army and the rest of the land forevermore with circumcision. Does it not follow these very words transcribed by Anak?
We fight as a single, impenetrable unit. That is the source of our strength.